favorite movies. Whoa. Is that a greasy forehead? Yes, it is. Okay. Good evening. This is Reverend Sharon, once again, speaking to you high atop. No, no, I'm not from high atop Mount Olympus, but thereabouts, somewhere in there. Can you see me? Okay. Is this a, oh, okay. Just trying to work with the itty bitty camera, and okay, now it's acting better. All right, okay. You guys don't know. uh, it's not a hard thing. It's just a little time consuming getting on the air sometimes. However, it's worth it if there are people who are. Yes, I'm doing that in front of the camera. It's worth it if there are people who are interested in hearing it, even subconsciously, in hearing what it will take to trigger their consciousness. So this is the final chapter for the When, Which, How practice book for the Wingmakers. And tonight it's basically going to be reading. And I'm going to do an first. Okay. But first I'm going to obliviate the camera for just a moment, because I need to stand up and let you not see my cluttered desk. Okay. All good, all good. All good, all good. Holy, holy. There we go. All right. And we're back in vision. There we go. Okay. All righty. And so we're just going to start out with one of my favorites, Om Namah Shivaya, as a chant. And I will recite that for just a few times. And from there, I will start the reading of section 6 of the final chapter. And then we'll go into the appendix, A and B. There are two appendixes at the end of this chapter. And then that's it for this book. There are more books in the Wingmaker lineage. There is a lot of information. The author and authority, James Mayhew, has written a series of books to help with greater understanding of the material. So, without further ado, I will start with Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And that is, well, there's much, much more that we can chant as far as mantras are concerned. But we want to get started as soon as possible. This is a reverence of harmony and compassion and humility. And this is dedicated to the forum that was started at the Center for Inner Wisdom, and will, I hope, continue on its journey to wherever it will resonate the highest level of energy possible. And hello, Robert, if you eventually get to see this, and Jack and Polly, and to everyone else who has come through these portals to witness, observe, be a part of the energy. These are all light workers who are in the field. They're on the front line. So this energy of light is directed specifically for the assistance of those who assist in the assistance of the healing process on the spiritual level. And we are grateful for their presence. Okay. Whoops. Hot tea is no longer hot, but that's okay. I am going to start with the section 6 of the When Witch How practice. Up. Gotta put the wand down. Okay. Section 6, practice over experience. Just as we cannot talk of visual beauty if we are blind, so we cannot discuss inner spiritual beauty if we have never received it. And this is a quote from Plotinus, a Greek philosopher. Plotinus echoes the sentiment of most individuals that are on a spiritual path. The seeking of the inner spiritual beauty is thought to be a vision, illumination, cosmic consciousness, or out-of-the-body experience, where a profound truth of the universe reveals itself, and we are forever changed, like Paul struck by light on the road to Damascus. Thus, we seek the experience of the spiritual worlds before we have undertaken the practice that reveals its meaning. There have been thousands of people who have had profound experiences through deep meditative states, or prayer, or hallucinogens, or lucid dreams. And sometimes out of the blue, the universe will reveal an aspect of its supernal beauty, quite independent of our own efforts. When the experience has faded into memory, it is sought again and again and again. The experience of the inner worlds, the spiritual fountainhead from which all life appears and into which it disappears, is often sought before or instead of the expression of our soul through the virtues of the heart. The reason is quite simple. We desire to claim spiritual experience as our natural birthright on one level, and on a more human level, we want undeniable proof that what we are invested in as a belief system is indeed authentic. To be sure, it is our natural birthright to live in the enlightened states of interconnection with the reality matrix of the designing force. But to do so requires a balance between what we express and what we experience. The When Witch How practice creates the opportunity to experience the spiritual beauty and appreciate in deeper meanings, because what we express magnetically attracts the experience that it is aligned to our expression. Now, need a little more light, so I'm going to back up. There we go. There are roadmaps to the structure of the universe, and these can be attention grabbing to learn, though they seldom conform to a single perspective. You can study hundreds, if not thousands, of books that depict the soul. Whoops. And I forgot to turn off the sound as a momentary thing here, off the sound. Uh, Electronics and I are having a quite questionable experience right now, magnetically speaking. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. And where was it? Okay. There are roadmaps to the structure of the universe, and these can be attention grabbing to learn, though they seldom conform to a single perspective. You can study hundreds, if not thousands, of books that depict the soul, the spiritual worlds, the higher wisdom, and you will certainly learn from these endeavors as they can be part of the path of enlightenment. I would caution, however, that you read not more than you practice the six heart virtues. The encyclopedic mind is far less magnetic to the spiritual terrain than the expressive and expansive heart. One of the key words in Plato's quote is discuss. But there is little or no purpose in discussing inner spiritual beauty unless it is expressed in your behaviors first and then attracted into your sphere of experience as a result. Only in rare and most often inexplicable cases does it work in reverse. By talking about the inner spiritual realms, you might activate an interest in the experiential side of the equation. And this is good, but if the interest is already there and you desire only to talk or discuss, you will seldom attract the experience you seek and almost never the meaning. In the LYRICUS teachings, there is a construct that if the aspirant desires to speak of divine experiences, then are unaware of their meaning, it is like a friend who describes a dream they had, and you can see so clearly what the dream means, but you find but your friend who experienced it firsthand is oblivious to the dream's deeper messages. The meaning is absent because the dream is too abstract to them. This is similar to how the aspirant is with the spiritual wisdom, seeking the experience of spiritual worlds before the practice has enlivened their understanding of the meaning. And so we are back to the concept of living from the heart, because here there is room to grow your own knowledge, to find your own sense of artistry in the welding of the six art virtues. Here you can define the magnetics of your IHEF. It only requires you to redirect your attention from the discussion of the inner spiritual worlds to the one which how practice, knowing that if this is accomplished, the experiences will find their way to you. More importantly, when they do, their deeper significance will be known without interpretation or comparison. Conclusion. I appreciate that some of you would prefer that I detail the One Which Child practice and provide all of the 63 combinations and which ones are appropriate for each situation. But the practice requires that every individual make these assessments in their self-luminous journey. Thus, the path is by its nature of appreciating your individuality, not formative. Regardless of who you are, where, or want to be, you are first and foremost a spiritual being, composed of an energetic field that expresses the degree of your emotional mastery or lack thereof. Beneath this energetic field may await talents of healing, telepathy, potent intuitive insight, artistic genius, or influential teachings. But what I'm suggesting is that these talents are secondary abilities to the primary gifts of expression. From your inmost spiritual selfhood, these are precisely what the six heart virtues and living from the heart unlock and release, not only into your IHEF, but also into the CHEF. And this constitutes your highest purpose within the worlds of time space. You can choose to undertake this path as an agnostic, Christian, Muslim, Jew, or any other religious affiliation. It does not matter to whom or whether you give your faith and loyalty. The important thing is that you understand your purpose as a spiritual being and never lose sight of this purpose, even in the midst of turmoil and the certainty of life's challenges. We read and hear a lot about sustainability in the context of ecology. Even some businesses have adopted the term to imply that their strategies are green. People are increasingly sensitive to the impact their carbon footprint has on the environment, and the notion of treading softly on the ecosystem is gaining ground with the general populations of Earth. As this paper suggests, we also have an emotional or energetic footprint that we leave upon the ecology of the human spirit and the planet at large. So much has been written in various religious and New Age texts that the earth will undergo cataclysmic changes, or perhaps even an apocalypse, after which we will enjoy the return of the Christ consciousness. The golden age of humanity will reign, and the righteous will be caught up into the heavens. While there may be some degree of truth in these visions, I'm proposing that the avalanche is about to roll outlook only evokes interest, sometimes obsession, and mostly it is fear-based. We need to activate our emotional self-mastery so we become self-luminous beings within the time-space dimensions. It is not fulfilling to have an interest in the avalanche or the impending shift of humanity. Our fulfillment and meaning comes from our practice of the six heart virtues. As historian Will Durant observed, in the last 3,421 years of recorded history, only 268 have seen no war. If humanity is to add to the no war column, it will require a new belief system that is energetically supported by the six heart virtues. It will require individuals like you to develop emotional self-mastery as the priorities self-improvement goal. Just as like attracts like informs like, and like transforms like. Thus, the transmission of our IHEF informs others who are similar to us, and as our numbers grow, the long heralded shift will be the result. Humanity moves increasingly towards the irrefutable scientific discovery of the human soul, and the latest grid of energetic interconnection upon which it moves and has its being It does this not because of the hand of God or some designing forces that corrals the human species into the higher dimensions, but rather through the human spirit expressing itself within the human realm of time-space. In other words, it's an inside job, one human at a time. It is not an infrequent position on the part of those who prefer the path of surrender to ask, why swim upstream? God will show the way and provide the path. Everything is taken care of. Why struggle to gain mastery over your emotions? In the end, we will be redeemed. This is a deep-seated and prevailing construct of humanity, that higher forces ultimately configured the universe and still control its functioning and outputs, that creation is tethered to the one that is all, and regardless of your name, for this higher force, it ultimately offers up a savior for humanity, whether that savior is terrestrial, heaven sent, or extraterrestrial. The evidence of human evolution shows that saviors come and go amid the primal actions of humankind that function in indifference to their message. We are all connected, yet we war. We are all connected, yet we steal. We are all connected, yet we hoard and overconsume. We are all connected, yet we turn away from the suffering of others. The insensitivity to our connection is a veil that is steadily becoming more transparent, and this is the vital agent of change. But it will not occur in a blinding flash of time or an instant of recognition. Rather, it is the result of a deliberate and persistent practice of the six heart virtue from an ever widening base of humanity. We are collectively engineering this. Yes, we are. Some more consciously than others, which is the only notable distinction between us. The temple is being built in which all of humanity can enter and see one another as they truly are. This temple is neither of earth nor the heavens. It is not owned by anyone, nor is anyone excluded. Within this temple, we are not emotionless beings. Quite the contrary. We are energetically potent with vibrant emotions, and they are expressed with care, and they are rooted in the virtues of the heart. This is the temple we are here to build. Be patient, for it is an endeavor long in the making, or in the molding, yes. Either will suffice. Yet it is certain to occur, not because we will be saved, but because enough humans chose to live from their hearts, to practice the six heart virtues, and become conscious of their energetic contributions. IHEF, the whole of life. One final comment. The journey is rewarding, but also difficult, as you will be challenged to shift quickly, adjust your attitudes, refresh your perspective, and own your mistakes and vulnerabilities. The six heart virtues are meant to be expressed not only to others, but also your human self. Bear this in mind as you progress. All the heart virtues apply equally to others and yourself. You can appreciate a stranger's kindness, and the next instant forgive your judgment of them. It is precisely because of our imperfections that the six heart virtues have their meaning. From my world to yours, James. And that is the book in its entirety, except for the appendixes of A and B. There is a comment or quote upon Beethoven. There is no loftier mission than to approach the Godhead nearer than other people and to disseminate the divine rays among humanity. And this is a fantastic uh, portrait. And this is for whoever will come in on that level. Now, the appendixes, time for a little. Hmm, okay. Oh, soothing the throat. Appendix A, and these are the definitions of the six heart virtues. Um, to quote the author, I have resisted the temptation to define the six heart virtues in detail, but I will provide a starting point for the definition so you can embroider them according to your own experience and insight. Appreciation. At the subtle levels, the virtue is focused on a specific awareness that first source, higher intelligence, surrounds our fellow beings as a field of consciousness, and that this consciousness unifies us. If we are unified, it follows that we operate as a collective consciousness at some deeper level and in this place. We share a common purpose that is richly textured, supremely vital, and yet mysterious, dynamic, and uncertain. This awareness or even belief shifts our focus from the small details of our personal life to the vision of our purpose as a species. At a more practical level, appreciation expresses itself in the small gestures of gratitude that support relationship, loyalty, and bonding. The deeper levels of appreciation make the relatively surface level expressions genuine because they stem from the frequencies of soul instead of the motives of the ego or mind. Compassion. Many teachers have spoken eloquently about compassion as the deep awareness of the suffering of another, coupled to the desire to relieve that suffering in the context of the new intelligence that is sealing itself on our planet. Compassion is an active desire to assist others to align with the new fields of intelligence that are manifesting in the three-dimensional world, aware that their desire and ability to align is distorted by their social uh, enculturations. I'm sure that that's what that is. Again, I don't have my glasses on. That's okay. It does not accurately reflect their intelligence, spiritual inclinations, or purpose. Compassion, therefore, is extended to both our fellow beings and the planet itself, with the realization that we are part of one another's destiny, if only for a single lifetime. Planet and person dances in the ascending currents of First Source in a collaborative process of regeneration and renewal. We are all part of the mysterious overtures and energetic transcendence that is occurring between Earth and the universe. And as Earth transforms its accumulated densities, each of us will be challenged to transform our own or become further embedded in our fears and emotional turmoil. Forgiveness. Forgiveness operates out of the construct that each of us is doing the best we can under the circumstance of our life experience and the degree that our love frequency saturates our human instrument. When a person operates from the heart virtues and the rich textures of its authentic frequencies, forgiveness is a natural state of acceptance. When a perceived injustice enters our experience, no matter how significant or whether we perceive ourselves to be the cause or the effect, we may initially react with the sharp emotions of victimhood or annoyance. But this is emotional clutter. But this emotional clutter, can be quickly cleared by replacing your sense of victimhood or annoyance with understanding and compassion. Forgiveness is really the outward expression of understanding and compassion without the heavy sentiments of duality, i.e., good and bad, that typically introduce the presence of judgment. It is a neutral expression without design or purpose, other than to release yourself from the clutches of time, which is similar to energetic quicksand, entangling you energetically to a time-based emotional state. Humility. The soul's expression of love is its most important purpose, while embodied within the worlds of time-space. It circulates this delicate sublime frequency of love to the human body and mind without condition or motive. It will come as no surprise that it finds the heart a more willing collaborator than the mind. Humility is the realization that the heart, mind, and soul commingle in the grace of a higher intelligence or designing force, and that their very existence is upheld through the connection of unconditional love. In the religious, psychological, and philosophical materials of our planet, there is great consideration given to the mind as a man thinketh, so is he. At a more granular level, many people believe that what they think causes their feelings, which in turn creates their vibratory rate, and this vibratory rate attracts their life experience. So, applying this logic, the way to attract good things into our life is to think rightly, lest we attract evil or hardship. Humility understands that the being that represents you, your fullest identity, is not constituted as a chain reaction of the mind. Rather, it is the presence of love embodied in human form. And this love expresses itself in the virtues of the heart, the pure intellect of the contemplative mind, and the co-creative pursuit of the heart, mind, and soul. Humility is the expression of the love frequency, knowing it derives from what already exists in a higher dimension. And in this dimension, love is not a thing of sentiment. And, whoops, emotional heaviness. It is a liberating force, yes indeed, where all are one, all are equal, all are divine, and all are immortal. Understanding. The world of form, just as the formless world, is composed of energetic structures beneath its denser expression. In a real sense, everything in multiverse is energy with incalculably long energy-based lifespans. Energy is transformational. That is, it can alter or shift into other states of being, or in the case of humans, consciousness. The human energetic structure is often described as the chakra system or electromagnetic body, but it is more than these components. The energetic structure is a form of life, which in turn is a texture of divine love. Energetically, our skeleton is composed of love at our core structure, and it is this love frequency that is the basis of our immortal consciousness or soul. All of the lower densities are shadows of this light and operate in time space, which provides a sheath of density and separation from this core love frequency. The worlds of time space alter or dilute the connection we feel to the core energetic structure of which we are all composed. And this diminishes our sense of connection not only to our divinity, but to God and all life. Herein is the paradox of being human. Our innermost structure is divine love, and our outermost structure is a means of experience for the innermost structure. But we have become entrained by the outer vehicle to the degree where we identify with it more than the occupant, our true self, inside. All of us feel this disassociation with our true self and our over identification with our physical body and mind, human instrument. Perhaps only in degree is there any difference among us. Understanding is the aspect of heart intelligence that recognizes this disassociation from love is a necessary design component of the larger blueprint that is occurring on the planet. In other words, it is not that humanity has fallen from grace or is tilted irrevocably towards sin. Rather, we have simply accepted the picture of reality that is dominant, and its dominance is not by accident, but part of a larger design. There is a well-known phrase within Lyricus that roughly translated says, the eloquence of time is that it unravels the structures of space that have sealed love from itself. The structures of space, in this case, refer to the human instrument. Only time can break down the rigid barriers or subtle membranes that prevent or diminish the love frequency from exerting its wisdom in the behaviors of the individual. If time is the variable of importance, it stands to reason that everyone is on his or her way to this realization. It is simply a matter of time before they achieve it. Thus, time is the differential that separates us. In a sense, we are all time shifted from one another. No one operates in exactly the same time relative to unsealing his or her love frequency from the world of form. Valor. While valor is generally used in the context of war or the battlefield, it is an element of love linked with the act of speaking truth to power, especially on injustice or when an injustice is committed. It is common in today's social order to pretend ignorance of the injustices of our world. Self-absorption is in one's own world is a key threat that undermines the expression of valor, and fear of consequences is the other. Valor is the aspect of your love that defers or that defends its presence in the face of injustice as measured in the social order. If you don't defend your virtues, or those too weak to defend their own, you have separated from them and have lost an opportunity to be a co-creative force in the world of form. This doesn't necessarily mean that you must become an activist or advocate for a list of social causes. It simply requires that you defend yourself from injustice. Children in particular require this protection. When I was only about 7 years old, I vividly remember going to a store with my father, and while we were walking in from the parking lot, we noticed a mother quite literally beating her child in the back seat of her car. It was a busy Saturday, and there were many people in the parking lot, but it was my father who approached the woman and asked her to stop. His voice was from his conviction, and the woman immediately stopped. This was an act of valor because there was no real judgment associated with it. It was simply an injustice that required intervention in the moment. Compassion for both the child and the mother were present in my father, and I believe the mother knew this. This is an example of how the virtues of the heart seldom appear in isolation, but rather as an ensemble that brave themselves for strength and potency for a given situation. Appendix B. And with this comes a diagram, which I am going to put online. Oh, and I think I need another sip. Only, hopefully this can be seen. Okay, with clarity. Since this is, okay. Since this is, got to have to do an online class or forum, uh, you guys, whoever takes a look at this can always uh, roll it back or do whatever it takes, it stills, or however you need to rewind it. That's the word I'm looking for. Rewind it. Okay. Figure B is a complete diagram that requires a detailed description, which is offered in this section. Think of this diagram as an energetic quadrant divided by two axes. The vertical y-axis is the axis of dynamic emotions, whereas the horizontal x-axis is the axis of stable emotions. If you have, for example, frequent mood swings, shifting from anger to love or sadness to joy, you are riding the serpent of the vertical axis. The serpent axis is aptly named since those who shift back and forth between the poles of viral negative and viral positive spring from side to side, seldom enjoying peace or contentment. It is much easier to shift between the quadrants, the quadrants 1 and 2, or even quadrants 3 and 4, than it is to shift between 1 and 3, or 4 and 2. The hardest is the shift between quadrants 4 and 1 because they are so incompatible as to make the shifts physically painful. The movement we each take across this energetic quadrant can be random, reactive, or purposeful, empowered. For example, let's say you are waiting in line at the grocery store and the person in front of you begins arguing with the clerk about the cost of several items, and you can't help noticing that the line of customers behind you is growing. You have the option of riding the serpent and flashing angry glances at the customer ahead of you while posturing with your body language in disapproval. Or you can take a deep breath, inflow the light of your heart's virtues, select the one you intuitively feel is most relevant to the situation at hand, perhaps understanding, forgiveness, and then release it to the event without condition or judgment. Riding the serpent, you will tend to operate in the random reactive mode. When you operate in the more stable fields of viral negative or viral positive, you tend to express a more purposeful, empowered perspective in your life, moment to moment. Unfortunately, in the case of the viral negative person, the outcome is repressive to the human family, which leads me to an important point. Unlike most psychology, which defines the negative behaviors with words like lust, anger, or obsession, the viral negative state is simply defined as repressive to the human to the human spirit. I so concur with that statement. The majority of people ride the serpent, unaware that there are people who purposely conspire to repress the human spirit, trying to keep us separated from one another, and to live unfulfilled lives relative to our spiritual purpose. These are the ones who live in the least desired state, operating with a purposeful, empowered mindset, at least partly focused on the repression of the human spirit. Of course, the irony is that the vast majority of those operating in the least desired state would identify their mission as one of saving humanity or protecting it from itself. This is all part of the conundrum of definitions. The viral positive person living in the most desired state is one who is purposeful, empowered in the context that they exude a liberating field or persona that empowers others to activate and express their spiritual purpose. There is no sense of repression or random reaction. It is a clear and coherent focus on helping others to live from their hearts and express the virtues therein. This energetic quadrant is a way of looking at the emotional terrain in which we express our energetic self. It is through this portal that our energetic output of the individual human energetic field, the IHEF, is received into the collective human energetic field, CHEF, or as I may refer to the SHEF. And our energetic fingerprint is fused to the human collective of energy. If we look at the energetic quadrant as our portal into the SHEF, then it becomes more obvious that we have a responsibility to establish our prevailing position in quadrant 1. And I think I'm mispronouncing a few things here, so please bear with me. The acronyms are very good. Notice that notice that I said prevailing position, not absolute. Everyone will cross lines from one quadrant to another. It is our natural and desirable state to cross boundaries and experience different points of the quadrant. However, we can choose which points become our prevailing or stable positions from which we derive our identities and our perceptions of the external world. Reviewing the energetic quadrant, you have probably attempted to place yourself within it, and in doing so, you have found a point that is temporal, assignable today, but not necessarily tomorrow or next week. Further, you may have allotted some degree of judgment as to your place on the quadrant, as if it is your home or where you belong. Many of us have had past experiences that appear to lock us into a particular energetic expression that can feel like it is frozen in time, but that is untrue. Oh my goodness. Once again, microphone out of context. I hope that everything registered. I will go back on this and edit it if necessary. I just want to make sure that I am not diluting the message, that's all. You can pick any point on the quadrant and say, this is where I am today. And you can pick another and say, this is where I choose to be tomorrow. The distance between the 2 points can be measured in millimeters, but may seem like light years away from each other to your mind. The energetic signature we emit to the universe is composed of an energy so refined as to be undetectable, to our senses, but it is the transformative rocket fuel that feeds our progression into the most desired state. This it can do independent of the dimension of time, past traumatic experiences, miserable upbringing, or any other rationale your mind can conjure. Perhaps you're thinking, but wait, don't the emotions define my energetic field? The emotions influence your energetic field, but its definition is one of intention and will. You choose the energetic equivalent of yourself and keep choosing it every moment of your life on earth. You choose the energetic field that you emit to the universe. This is the seed of energy that you established or planted within the human soil. Like everything that evolves and transforms, nurturing and cultivation. To the extent you express your heart's virtues, practicing them in everyday situations, you will see your emotional state shaping your energetic field in such a way that you will awaken one day and the universe will become the mirror of your energetic body, and you will finally meet the inward self that embraces all. You can look at the quadrant as a stage with 3 different roles. The viral negative does not mean you are Satan incarnate or a miserable convict rotting away in prison. Most of the human family who live in this state are seemingly responsible, polite, and attentive citizens of their respective countries, except for the fact that they repress the human spirit and separate the human family into sexes, religions, races, preferences, colors, and segments of disintegration. They could be doctors, Sunday school teachers, librarians, policemen, mothers, or business executives. There is no job or social standing that excludes them. What distinguishes them is that they are purposeful in their repression and separation. There is a cause behind their actions, and this cause anchors them in the viral negative state, VNS. For purposes of this paper, I will refer to these people as VNS people. In the middle section are those who are riding the serpent of the emotional slings tethered to the social undulations as meted out by the dominant cultures, religions, political, and educational systems. Since I am focused on the energetic field of a category of individuals within the human family, I'll refer to these as riding the serpent, RTS people. RTS people are the base of humanity. Speaking energetically, they set the general pattern of how emotions and energetic frequencies of human interaction became the norm. They are mostly concerned with family, work, and entertainment, but they also dabble in the spiritual and are in different states of awakening relative to their energetic field. RTS people are in search mode, forever seeking whatever is felt to be missing in their life. They are disillusioned by the seeming indifference of their God, and this condition keeps them uncertain, which in turn makes them more reactive to life. If you are always reacting to the external environment and the uncertain impulses of your internal world, dimly felt, you will tend to be dramatic in your swings of emotions, and your IATF will reflect this. RTS people have a prevailing feeling that there is more to life, that a higher purpose awaits their discovery if only they could find it. This adds to their sense of uncertainty and frustration, which only fuels their reactionary impulses when coupled to the rising stress of modern day living. On the viral positive side of the energetic quadrant, people in this category, as they approach the most desired state, become increasingly aware of their energetic field in a similar way to how an infant becomes progressively more aware of their physical body. The viral positive state, VPS, people are not necessarily spiritual people in the sense that they are teachers within a religion, nor are they necessarily the scientists in search of the energetic realms. Unless a person, regardless of their stature in life, is also actively expressing their heart's virtues and empowering others to do the same, they will never, one moment please, enter the most desired state, unless it is for a radiant moment as a means of activation, a calling to their soul from the designing force. Just as the VNS people are anchored in their energy field by the cause of repression and separation, the BPS people are anchored in their commitment to the human family by transcending the myopia of small picture dramas. Thus, thus within the most desired state, those within the most desired state have an unwavering commitment to the cause of human transformation from material mindedness to energetic heart awareness. This is the cause that anchors them. A key to understanding the energetic quadrant is to see the VNS, RTS, and BPS people as members of the human family who are informing the collective energy, or CHEF, from a perspective of wholeness. There is no wrong or right, good or evil. All of us have a role to play in this vast collection of energy. However, the choice is still ours as to how we desire to work with the greater incoming energies impacting on our planet. This is an important distinction between the three primary groups of people, because only the VPS people are able to transmit the incoming energies, like a clear prism can transmit white light into 7 rays. As it has been said, a prism in the dark is just a hunk of glass. So, too, is the human energetic field. In the dark, it is just a receiver. If it is in the VNS or RTS state, then it is in a darkened state, and the incoming energies from the universe at large, designing force, cannot transmit the energetic frequencies that empower and fuel the human family to transformation. Now, to be clear, I am painting with black and white for effect. Admittedly, there are many shades of gray, but the point is that in order to both receive and transmit the higher energetics of the universe, to have a positive effect on the human transformation objective, you must choose the path, become, and remain a VPS person. The When Which How practice is a choice that immediately begins to shift our IHEF and align its trajectory to the viral positive state. The most desired state, green triangle in potent position within, whoops, I think I skipped a line. The most desired state, green triangle in quadrant 1, this is referring to the diagram, is the gravitational cone of quadrants 1 and 2, and it is the most potent position within the energetic quadrant as it pertains to influencing the CHEF. In other words, if you are able, as a result of your conscientious and deliberate application of the When Which How practice, to operate within the most desired state, you are continuing a verily active energetic signature that can influence thousands of others, okay, who are also seeking a way to become viral positive, even though they may not consciously intend it. Another way to look at the quadrant is to imagine points of humanity. Well, to imagine points of humanity on it. This is another diagram. And okay, just bringing this to the table here. And this again, you can refer to as you see fit. Imagine that each large dot represents 10,000 IHEFs, and each small dot represents 1,000. This view would represent the distribution of IHEFs into the CHEF. Let's say this view was a snapshot of the CHEF, and that we could take pictures of different times and review how humanity is progressing relatively to its CHEF. These snapshots would signify how humanity is evolving emotionally and energetically. In the example above, well, the example that I've shown you, notice that the distribution of IHEFs is denser along the serpent's axis. This would indicate that humanity as a whole is fluctuating between quadrants and operating in a more reactive behavior to life's events. You can also notice that there is more distribution of IHEFs in quadrants 3 and 4, indicating that the viral negative, particularly in the least desired state, is generating a more effective influence. There is much written and discussed about the impending dimensional shift. While it has many facets, the real shift occurs energetically across the human family. It could look like the view below if enough people learn how to express the 6 heart virtues, and with a degree, oops, we got another diagram coming up. And this is the diagram referred to in viewing below. Okay. And It speaks, let's see, they will never, okay, with a degree of consistency. Okay, there we go. I almost lost my page. As a result, the dots within the most desired state will increase, and a shift of balance energetically can occur within the broader human family. And this is referring to a dimensional shift. From the time you make the decision to practice the 6 heart virtues, to live from your heart, you are regridding your energetic signature in resonance with quadrant 1 and the most desired state. You are part of the shift of consciousness upon earth, and as you move closer to the most desired state, you are not only part of the shift, you are an activating force of the shift. It all starts energetically. The shift is a co-creation between the designing force and the human family. It is both elements operating in a dance of resonance. The shift is not a thing that happens to humanity. It is a thing that is co-created by humanity and the designing force. And we have, I believe, the last diagram. Yes, it is. And this deals with the orientations. Okay, there we are. Let's see, I had to have this camera to play with. It's so much fun. Anyway, I'm just moving right along. Okay, as the diagram shows, our personal path can be organized into 4 orientations that overlay the energetic quadrant and be used on a practical guide. These 4 orientations consist of the 3 tendencies of the mind ego vices: you, complex, and me, complex, definitions to follow, and the 1 affinity of the heart. Heart virtues, while very general, these orientations superimpose another dimension of structure to the energetic quadrant. Normally, as we develop in one lifetime, and even through the micro lens of multiple lifetimes, we journey through the quadrant of ego vices, which has a decidedly selfish orientation. We then move to the you complex, where our attention is on the shortfalls of the external world, which could include family, friends, work, or society in general. Next, pursuing a sequential trajectory, we would spend time in the me complex, which is the quadrant where we first begin to recognize that our inner self is fundamental to our happiness and sense of well-being. Finally, we enter the heart virtues, where we begin to shift our focus from the mind's comprehension of truth and the seeking of enlightenment to the more active practice of expressing our heart's virtues and energetics therein. And this is the very last page of the book. Many of us bounce from quadrant to quadrant. Oops. Within a single lifetime. And to be clear, there is no set sequence. In other words, as a child, one can live in the heart virtues quadrant, and by the age of 7, move to explore the you complex. Later in life, when a young adult, they live squarely in the ego vices quadrant. When they reach 30 years of age, they can shift to the meat complex and then, because of a shattering experience, fall back to the U complex. Finally, at the age of 45, they return to the meat complex, and something in their inner search rekindles their practice and expression of the heart virtues, not as a random emotion, but as the core practice that brings meaning to their life. This is just an example of each of us journeys through these different quadrants and lives in them, largely unaware that they shape in an important way our IHEF contribution and the meaningfulness of our life. The energetic quadrant is a framework to help you access your prevailing position and their IHEF contribution. You can do quick mental check-ins to sense your position within the quadrant and sometimes to even assess the human family as a whole. This is not an exercise in judgment, you complex, but rather a framework to enable an intuitive check in order of your energetic progress. From awkwardness with practice comes competency. From separation with practice comes a prevailing sense of unity. From disbelief with practice comes evidence. When you find practice living from the heart, you might feel awkwardness, separation, and disbelief. But these are temporal states, and they will, if you persist in your practice, be replaced by competency, unity, and evidence. And that is the entirety of the When Which How practice. Wow. I have to say, every time I read this, it brings something, well, I feel, wow, I just feel. Anyway, it is, we're on schedule, as a friend of mine likes to say. Since there were no sign-ins and the studio is empty except for myself, I am going to sign off. And if there is a desire to go over any other material, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit it. I'm going to pull it through the collection of videos that I have for editing and edit it if there's no sound or if something went wrong or if there was technical interference, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's going to stand. It's online for anyone who wants to take a look at it. Whoa, let's see. I can't think of anything else except blessings upon every single soul whose spirit or energy or their IHEF, which is just another word to me for the energy frequency, which has accepted or rejected this information. I think that it has been received because of the venue, this frequency of energy called the internet has shared this with the background energy, magnetic energy, frequency of whoever is interested in receiving it. That's a plant there in the background that's moving around on its own. So, design force and IHEF and all those that would have been here, but for whatever reason, were unable to make it this evening, this is now online for the universe. And I am so honored to have been allowed to participate in the expression of this information. If anyone needs to contact me about any questions on this, you have, I think most of you have my email address, or you can message me on Facebook, or those who have my phone number can give me a call. I'm looking upward because I did not write this down. I never write down what I'm going to say. Other than that, good evening. God bless. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Das Vidanya. And I will close with a blessing upon every soul, everywhere, that has been able to receive or not, decided not to receive this information from the heart construct that we all have access to. Blessings upon you. May your day, may your life be as brilliant as you are. Namaste. And good evening. And good night.